What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. Chris Pennell here, breaking down the Cookout 400 at Richmond Raceway. We're racing on Saturday night under the lights for 400 laps around the action track. Although not much action these days, it's probably going to be all real nice green flag runs. Hopefully we don't have a terrorism attack like we did last year with Austin Dillon, Joey Logano, and Denny Hamlin. As someone that owned tickets on Logano outright, top 3 and top 5, that was a horrifying night for me, and I still have not gotten over it. But anyway, if it hasn't been your first time here, what's up? My name is Chris Pennell. I break down NASCAR DFS each and every single week on this channel. Videos on, well, this week, Friday, and the live streams on Saturday, planning for around 6 p.m. Eastern, so be there, be square, always a good time. If you do enjoy today's video, make sure you leave a like down below. Scott Channel brand new. Let's dive right into it. All right, so let's talk some strategy here for Richmond. We're going to have 400 laps. That means nearly 300 total Dominator points, which means, yeah, Dominators are going to be very important this week. And I would say at least 2. We'll have to see how qualifying looks. Maybe we get a couple guys in the very back, and you can get away with 1 Dominator, depending on who's on the pole. But in a general sense, I am thinking probably 2 per lineup and maybe 3 if we can get a cheaper guy closer to the front, like Iowa, like Brad Keselowski. He was cheap, and you can play him with also 2 Dominators. That was quite easy to do. Now, another important thing about Richmond is that this is a high tire wear track, and drivers that are good at conserving their tires and equipment over the course of long runs, that will be very beneficial to you. And I would say the best right now is Denny Hamlin, and what do you know, he's pretty much the man at Richmond. So that's something to certainly keep in mind. Also, we don't usually have a lot of cautions here, so green flag runs, long green flag runs I should say, are quite common. And looking at our chart, this is of the 6 Richmond races we have in the next gen era. Unfortunately, they lost a date, and I say unfortunate not because it's an exciting track these days, but I do like Richmond because it is pretty projectable, at the very least, especially compared to Watkins Glen last weekend. But yeah, 6 race sample size of Richmond. Denny Hamlin at the very top. Joey Logano, which I'm recording this during practice, and I did see a few moments ago, I think he junked his car, so it looks like he'll be starting in the very back. That'll be quite interesting. I forget what his price tag is off the top of my head. Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, William Byron, those are your contenders at short flat tracks. Also, Ryan Blaney, he's usually much higher, and you're going to see in the next figure when we look at short flat tracks in general. But Richmond, for him specifically, has been a bit of a struggle track, and I'm going to be kind of curious to see what he looks like in practice and qualifying in general, because we all know this season he's one of the fastest cars, especially on long runs at high tire wear tracks. And he's great at short flat tracks. Just for whatever reason, Richmond does not seem to go his way. And finally, moving on to the driver by driver breakdown. But I have to mention one thing first. It's a free video, guys. So let me do my plug and feed the dog. But if you're enjoying the best NASCAR DFS community out there, and we have NFL coming very soon, it's been a very powerful sport for me over the last couple of seasons. And I've been working all off season, revamping the model, and I'm very excited about it. So lots of fun things coming very soon. And I would love to have you all over for NFL, which is in just under a month. Very excited. Showdowns, main slates, whatever it may be. Lots of good stuff coming. But if you want to check out all the NASCAR content, I'm not going to go over it, so you can pause or screenshot, be my guest, but you're not find this amount of data or tools at this price point anywhere else. Optimizer for DraftKings and FanDuel. I cover trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series under the DraftKings Contest Simulator, which can send up to 10,000 lineups at once, no matter what kind of contest you're in, whether it be cash games, large field tournaments, or single entry GPPs. See which lineups stack up the best in tournaments or which drivers offer the best ROI before the race starts. If you want to come and check it out, you know where to find it. Link will be found down below. Also, if any of you are familiar with website building, web development, web design, anything, I would love for you to reach out to me somehow, some way, preferably on Twitter, or you can email me somehow. I would love to get something happening. I have been working on this potentially for any kind of sport, NFL, NASCAR, whatever it may be, but I would like to make this come to life, but I do need a little bit of help because I'm not completely familiar with web design or everything that does entail, but we do have some bare bones to work with. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'd love to make something happen potentially. All right, it's about 20 minutes later. Practice and qualifying has finally concluded. And as you can see, we're looking at quite a bit of chalk in some places. I think practice looked very weird. I think qualifying looked quite odd. So this is going to be a very intriguing slate. I mean, we have Ryan Preece on the pole, Tyler Reddick in P2. I think Dinger's in P3, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Dinger's in P3. So this is a very interesting slate, not really what I expected. So let's break this all down together. This is my first run through. I've not yet projections or anything. That'll of course be on the Patreon later tonight. So let's head over to practice first before we try to make any other, I guess, conclusions of what we are looking at. So heading over to the practice results page here, we could look at the consecutive lap runs, although we did get a caution when Joey Logano took a hit to the wall, amongst other things as well, and it kind of screwed up some of those numbers. I think looking at the lap by lap data is going to be a lot better. And I also have some fun fancy graphs I made for you all, ran it through my system, which will show us our lap times, the fall off, at least visually, instead of just looking at it based off the numbers. Now I do have this sorted by groups, and then I have it ranked based off of my rankings of how they perform the best in that group. And as you can see in Group A, Kyle Busch, Corey Heim, Noah Gragson tied. Very weak group overall. I mean, the best driver, like I think in general in here, is probably Brad Keselowski, Josh Berry, Kyle Larson, of course, but a pretty weak group overall. And I'm not really sure how much we should be putting into practice. It just seems very all over the place. If we look at Group B, where most of the good drivers are, we have Denny Hamlin. He looked the best of that group, of course, which no surprise. It is Richmond. Carson Hocevar took a bit of a spin. And keep in mind, if you also have less laps, it's less chance to fall off, so your numbers can get skewed a little bit. Blaney's up there. We talked about him. William Byron. Trying to see if there's any. Yeah, so the guy in the poll was actually the worst in the practice based off of these rankings. Chase Elliott's in the dump, and he was top 5 in qualifying. Joey Logano, of course, he died, so we didn't get to find really any good data out of him. SVG kind of expected. Chase Briscoe. So it's honestly very all over the place, and not sure how much we should really trust it. And I did graph all these drivers out. So this was Group A. I figured it probably made the most sense to not overlay it with Group B. They're kind of all just running the same times. I mean, of course, a couple of guys are a little bit worse. Hunter Nemechek looked pretty bad once we get deeper into the run. Same with Justin Haley. Kyle Busch fell off. He said that himself. He fired off really quick, but it looks like he fell off a bit. Austin Dillon didn't show the worst long run speed. Same with Josh Berry. Kyle Larson looks kind of all by himself, but not as many guys ran that many laps, so it's not fair to really make too much of a comparison. Michael McDowell was right over there. Keselowski did not look bad. Of course, his final lap coming in kind of skewed that a bit, but overall, I mean, Austin Dillon, Corey Heim, Josh Berry, pretty low, at least deep into the run. I think Keselowski and RFK in general is going to have some speed for sure. But yeah, Nemechek and Haley, Noah Gragson definitely didn't look that great as they went on. Same with Kyle Busch. And then we have Group B. Denny Hamlin, his first lap was horrible. You're going to see that dark blue line. Horrible. It's, it happens. But outside of that, he looked like one of the strongest cars. Of course, in his last lap, it's up there as well. You kind of have to excuse those when you're looking at data. Typically, your last lap, sometimes it gets go. I could probably filter that out. Might make it a little bit better to look at. But Blaney also looked pretty quick in the long run. Chase Elliott fired off horribly, and if you guys were looking at the lap-by-lap data we were just looking at, he was near the bottom of the list in Group B, but it looks like over the course when we get deep into run, he can pretty much hang with the big dogs here. Let's see, Chase Briscoe a little bit higher than I'd like, but she wasn't that fast in qualifying either. Bell's a little bit up there, but I think he was faster in qualifying. I'm not going to be overly concerned about practice, but this is at least a little bit fun to look at. I believe Chastain's in the 30s, but he was pretty low on the board here, so it's a very weird week of practice for sure. With that being said, let's break it all down here. We'll go driver by driver, and we'll start with this 5-figure range first, and we have 6 drivers this weekend, which 400 laps, they typically up the price tag, so we definitely have to play a premium for these potential dominators. But with the way qualifying shaked out, we could get some cheaper potential doms here. I mean, we have Ryan Preece and Tyler Reddick on the front row. They're sub 9K, and it's possible. I mean, we've seen clean air in this car. If they get out and lead 50 laps, 60 laps, they don't have to do too much besides hang around for the rest of the race and use that track position to their advantage. So we'll see. And it looks like it could be a very easy week to fit in 3 DOMs like I was talking about, because Keselowski at Iowa was like $7,500. We're getting a similar situation here with Ryan Preece, and maybe even Bubba Wallace or Alex Bowman, for example. All right, so we're going to start it off with Denny Hamlin. He comes in at $11,000. He'll be starting in 4th. He was the odds-on near co-favorite, depending where you looked. Last I scraped odds, Bell ended up being the favorite, but Denny Hamlin, very good at Richmond, very good at conserving his tires. I was impressed with his times based off of him being in Group B. Has 2 wins here, 5 top 5s in 6 races. I can't remember exactly where he finished last year. I know Austin Dillon, he was one of the casualties from him. I feel like he might have still scraped by on a top 5, but either way, you have to assume he's going to be in contention here, potentially win the race and pick up dominator points. I see no reason why that would not be possible, so I would say currently he is my favorite dominator of this upper range. I mean, Bell is right there with them. I think Bell and Hamlin are very close together, and they will make up the majority of my lineups because these are guys that can lead 100-plus laps, potentially win the race and get fast laps as the race progresses. And I would put Chase Elliott in a similar category, but definitely a rank below them. At least he's $1,000 cheaper. He's also good at short, flat tracks. But I definitely think Bell and Hamlin are going to be the premier potential dominators of this price range. So after those two, I mean, of course, we're running out of money. So the only reason you're getting to these guys is if you're getting different off of them, or if you're chasing the place differential with Kyle Larson. I think that's fine, but I'll be honest. He was in Group A, so these practice times are a bit inflated. The floor is there because of where he is starting, And he has been a dominator here before. I mean, the numbers are overall very good. The only issue is I don't think he's really going to get up front and dominate. And if he does not do that, sure, he can score you 60, 70 points just based off of place differential, maybe getting fast laps if he progresses through the field nicely. But there's always the chance where he just kind of gets stuck and runs like 13th by the end of the day. I think a lot of people might end up going with the strategy of playing one of Hamlin and Bell and you pair with Kyle Larson. That might be the cash game option. But in tournaments, do not be afraid to stack up Hamlin and Bell and maybe leave Larson off of those if you don't think he can secure those dominant points. Because I just think he's lacking that 100 plus point ceiling that the other guys kind of offer in this price range. And Larson's been, for whatever reason, man, I know he's bit wreckers or checkers in general, but typically he has these better runs. But man, he's just been off ever since he's attempted that Indy double. Felt like he was heating up, but I don't know. He's having a weird summer, at least in my opinion. William Byron, Ryan Blaney, kind of similar plays there. Not quite the PD of Kyle Larson, but I don't think Larson's going to get lapped or anything. But I mean, they have the better track position, so I really don't think it's going to be a worry between those two. I just don't know if they're going to be able to get up front and dominate. And if they can't do that at those price points, it just makes them tougher plays. Like, they're fine. They're better FanDuel plays than DraftKings plays, I think. But Hamlin and Bell should project out the best of this range. And like I said, Chase Elliott's in a similar spot. I just feel like he's less likely to dominate. 9K range, we have probably very chalky Joey Logano. He is really good here at Richmond for whatever reason. I know it just seems like these days he doesn't bring a ton of speed, which he did not early on in practice. We really didn't get to see a super long run out of him to see if he was going to be fine, kind of similar to Chase Elliott, who fired off horribly. So I'm not going to put too much stake into the practice numbers, but we do have Logano in the very back at a track that he is very good at. He would have won this race last year, and I know he got lucky with the caution. He was still going to finish top 3, maybe second if he was going to be able to pass Truex, I believe, at the very end of the race. This just, man. So, I, of course, I have not run projections, so I don't know what the roster construction is going to look like. But if you could fit in Hamlin, Bell, and Joey Logano, that would obviously be a fantastic start. It's just what to see what these cheap plays look like. But I said Larson and like Hamlin or Larson and Bell might be the popular cash choice. I should probably retract that. It might end up being like a Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano approach, and then potentially like a Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch for those of you that want the PD. I'm not sure if that's really the route I want to go. I'm just thinking as far as a cash game sense is concerned, but this is one of his best tracks. I mean, of all the PD plays, I would say he's probably my favorite, but it's just being that far back in the pack, and if you cannot pass, and there's a chance he goes lap down. That's the only concern, especially at $10,000. So for me, I am prioritizing dominators in this price range, but of course, he is fine. Just he's not going to offer that ceiling. Chase Briscoe starting in 19th. Don't really think we have to fear him going a lap down. Well, at least we hope not. Things went horribly wrong if Chase Briscoe is going to lap down, but he's typically good at the tracks that Martin Truex Jr. has been good at. I mean, they have it easy. They got the same crew chief. You just plug in the numbers for Chase Briscoe. He's a good driver, good at short flat tracks. You can kind of just expect similar results from Martin Truex. He's gotten really good as the season has progressed. So starting 19th, I like him as a pivot off of Logano if you're playing tournaments. Of course, you can play them together. That is, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think Briscoe's an excellent tournament pivot. Brad Keselowski, I wish he was a bit cheaper. Was really good at Iowa. He is good at conserving his tires. 3 top 10 finishes here in 6 races. Just not really much of a dominator. He does have some laps led and some fast laps. It's not quite the level of these other guys. I just wish he was cheaper. If he was like in the 7K range like last time, he would be one of my favorite tournament plays on the slate. So while he's still in the tournament pool, and it's just, Briscoe starts 16 spots further back. I feel like at the end of the day, they have pretty similar finishing position upside. But I'll still be playing some Kes because this is a good track for him. The tire wear is there, which is something that he should excel at. And I do think maybe we see it play out somewhat similar to Iowa. And if that's going to be the case, I mean, you got to have some interest in Brad. Chris Buescher's fine. Similar play to Brad, just a little bit more PD. Then dipping into the 8K range, one guy in the front row, then the rest is going to be place differential here. Kind of a weird spot. I feel like lineups will be kind of top heavy this week if you're fitting in multiple dominators, and plus you're dipping your toes maybe to Joey Logano. Quite often I'll see people doing that, I assume. 9K range doesn't look too bad. Not sure how much money you're going to have for the 8K range. It almost feels like overpriced place differential, but let's dig in a little bit. Tyler Reddick, not usually the greatest at the short flat tracks, does have a top 5 at Richmond in 6 races, but a little bit of dominator points mixed in, a little bit of fast laps. I mean, having track positions is huge. Not sure how much I trust the 45 team here. Like, you put him in the dominator pool just because they have the potential to do that, and it's cleaner in the next gen car. That's all that matters sometimes, but pretty likely candidate to fade back a bit. I mean, I'd be kind of shocked if Tyler Reddick dominates this entire race. But he is in the dom pool for sure. Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, 2 place differential plays here. Kyle Busch fired off extremely fast in practice. I feel like these numbers are really going to inflate ownership, but he himself said he looked like he was falling off in practice. In Group A, definitely had a bit of an advantage. So just seems like a candidate to probably go a bit underweight on. If we're looking at, of course, he was the best in Group A based off my rankings, but like I said, I'm not sure how much I want to put into practice. And if there's ever a driver besides Noah Gragson to get into issues, it's typically Kyle Busch. Looking at his Richmond numbers in next gen, 6 race sample size, average finish at 11th, running position of 13, 3 top 10s, 5 top 15s. Like, the numbers are good, and he is cheap enough. Like, cash games, yes, but in tournaments, I do think we can get different. And I would say he's a candidate to potentially get lapped down if he just cannot move in stage 1. We'll see what happens. Ross Chastain can usually bully his way and block his way to be able to stay in the lead lap. Starts in 33rd. They're both similar plays. They'll project pretty similar. I'm fine with both, especially in a cash game sense, but feel free to get different. I mean, Josh Berry, he has legit top 10 upside at a track like Richmond. I think this suits him well. He's been pretty good at tire conservation, at least in the smaller sample size in the Cup Series, and better candidate to stay in the lead lap, starting inside the top 20 to have that track position. It's just, he seems like he's really faded speed-wise from his hot start to the year. And the 7K range, just is full-on tournament plays. You have the cashy plays and Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain, and then here on down, we get the GPP pool. Alex Bowman, I'm always going to be a sucker for him. 7K Hendrick car. I'm going to have some exposure. And Richmond's not exactly his best track. Running position of 15th, average finish of 16th. But he's shown he can finish inside the top 10. He's cheap. He should be able to stay in the lead lap as long as he doesn't have issues. So I'm fine with Bowman in GPP, not cash games. Ryan Preece, you might be able to make a case for him in cash games. I like him at shorter flat tracks, tends to have speed, and we always play him starting in 19th, and he's able to race his way up. But if you have clean air and if he can clear Tyler Reddick at the beginning, if he leads 40, 50 laps, however much he wants to, I mean, he's going to get past at some point, but he can stay within the top 10. That can get the job done at $7,600. I know his time's the Corbel in practice, but like I said, I'm not going to put too much into practice just in general, because I think the numbers are a bit weird. And I mean, I don't think Kyle Busch has the best car. I don't think Ryan Preece or the guy are going to have the absolute worst cars, and Ryan Preece put it in the poll. So I'm fine with him. Clean air, good track position. That can do things. Bud Wallace, same with him. Him and Alex Owen are the same plays every single week. I always play them in tournaments. Sometimes it works well, but sometimes they do have issues. But at these price tags, it's very hard to avoid. Like, I don't really see why the price tag on Bud Wallace and Tyler Reddick is over $1,000 difference. I really don't at this point. Austin Dillon, I hate him from last year. He tends to be very good here for some reason, just starting a bit high. I don't know if we're going to have a repeat of last year, but he has finished in the top 10 in half of his races here at Richmond in the next gen. So I hate to say it, but I think you kind of put him in that same pool as Bud Wallace and Alex Bowman. Carson Hocevar wrecks every single week. He's like one of the absolute worst drivers to trust at this point. If you want to put your money on him, you can. I don't really trust it. Ty Gibbs starting in 23rd. We're looking at his times in practice based off of his group. I believe he was in Group A, which they had the advantage track time-wise. If we sort this just overall, he was still pretty low even being in Group A. I said I'm not putting too much into practice, but Ty Gibbs doesn't seem super enticing. I think I'd rather, sounds crazy, I might rather get exposure to guys like Austin Dillon, but Wallace, Alex Bowman, further up front you start, you can stay there, stay in the lead lap, and potentially steal some fast laps here and there. 6K range, Austin Cindric does not look like a play I want to get to personally, starting in 13th. Probably fades back to around 20th if I had to imagine. Corey Heim, his lap times overall in practice weren't too bad. He went out and qualified first, so it was a horrible spot to qualify. So he's going to be all the way back in the field in 32nd. I think he is playable. He should be able to move his way towards not the front, but at least battle, not quite mid-pack, but in between there to where he's in the 20s, and that's viable at $6,700. Dale Suarez is probably going to be a pass. Same with Eric Jones starting 21st and 28th. Just pretty likely candidates to move back. Nemechek fired off quick based off his lap times. It looks like he kind of fades. Starts in 34th. Like, at his price point, I'm fine with it. He's shown the ability to finish in the top 20 this year. Michael McDowell and AJ Allmendinger, I just don't see how I'm going to be able to play them starting 10th and 3rd. I know they're starting pretty far up. I do think it's very unlikely they work out for DFS purposes. And as far as the 5K range is concerned, there's a reason they're this cheap. They suck. Ricky Stenhouse might get the most ownership just because of how cheap he is and where he is starting in 36, but he's very slow despite being in Group A and also qualified horribly as well. I'd say he's a likely candidate to go a lap down. Now, he's not going to be the only one that goes a lap down, so he can fight with those guys and still finish, say, 28th or 27th, depending how many cards I'm going to lap down if we get these long green flag runs. So it's still fine. I'm sure there's going to be DNFs, and as long as it's not him, he can get positive points. So he's probably going to be the cashier option. But Riley Herbst kind of intrigues me below 5K, 2311 car, started in 26. So he at least has some decent track position to start with. Other than that, though, I don't really have a strong stance on any of these guys. So it's just a matter of, hey, do I get my Doms? Do I have Denny Hamlin? Do I have Christopher Bell? Do I have Chase Briscoe in my lineup? Do I like the rest? Did I play Bowman? Okay, I have 5,500 left. Is that Stenhouse? Sure, fine. But with that being said, that's all I got for today's video. So if you enjoyed, or even if you didn't, make sure you leave a like down below. Scratch if brand new. If any questions, comments, concerns, or want to check out all the extra content over on Patreon, you know where to find it. The link will be found down below. Wish you all the best, and I'll see y'all next time.